First topic today, boys, we're going to talk about the comment that was left on my video. Now, I don't know if this is real. I want you to take it with a grain of salt. I do not know if it's real because it's a YouTube comment, right? But I do find it interesting that a lot of developers are starting to feel okay with commenting on YouTubers' videos, essentially proving that they do in fact watch, which we always knew that was the case. If you guys missed it on Saturday Night Hypnosis, we were talking about the Until Dawn remake, and we were talking about how it kind of feels like a scam because the entire game was remade, right? It wasn't a remaster; it's a remade game, similar to Silent Hill 2, but the entire theme is completely off. The entire theme is just it's weird, right? And the dark and moody atmosphere that they went for is no longer there. Whoever was in charge of making the remake, which is not Supermassive, obviously, it's a different studio, they completely lost the entire theme and the feeling of the original Until Dawn. Well, one of the original Until Dawn developers decided to comment supposedly on my video. So let's get into what he said, and let's see if what he said makes sense. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and read it. So let's see. He says, "Hey, I worked on the original Until Dawn. The original was made with Guerrilla Games, Killzone Shadowfall engine before it became Decima, Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding. This remake was made by Ballistic Moon. They ported all the assets to Unreal Engine 5, hence the supposed remake, as it's a completely new engine. This means all the lighting, camera work, and cinematics had to be redone. Making stuff in Unreal Engine is very different, so a direct translation is almost impossible, but they gave it a go. That said, there are some creative liberties taken, it seems. Only a handful of the original developers worked there at Ballistic Moon, mostly engineers." Okay, so there's more to the comment, but let's start off with this. I understand the porting from one engine to another. You know, we had this excuse made with Lollipop Chainsaw, right? When they talked about the physics engine being different in the engine that they ported over compared to the original game. I get it. However, people who are remaking a certain game have a duty to the people who are looking to buy that game to try to be as close to the original as you possibly can. This is not creative liberties. This is just flat out completely different, right? Especially when it comes to the lighting. The lighting is so jarring that even some of the biggest shills in the industry had to point it out, right? Even the shills couldn't ignore it. And when the shills can't ignore it, that's how you know. That's when you know that this shit is massively different. If you ported everything over to Unreal Engine 5, you should have did your best to try to match the lighting and whatnot to the original game. Not only that, I know you didn't try very hard because the animations for the characters don't even do the same thing. In the first game, you have so much attention to detail that the characters, when standing still in the middle of a snowstorm, are gripping themselves, you know, on their elbows. They're shaking. They're jumping around trying to create body heat. They are selling you on the fact that they're in a very cold environment. In the remake, these motherfuckers are dead inside because they literally just stand still and do absolutely fucking nothing. They do zip. They do zero. There is no effort in giving small little details that can actually help out, right? So that's number one. I don't believe that. And I feel like Unreal Engine is a more modern engine, so wouldn't it have more tools to give you what you're trying to portray on screen? Are you telling me that Unreal Engine 5 is a worse engine than the Decima engine? I mean, I don't know. Maybe. It's possible. But again, I've seen some incredible lighting from games that are in Unreal Engine 5. So I think this is more of the liberty side of thing, right? This is more of like creative liberties, more so than an engine problem. I don't think this is an engine problem. I think this is a creative liberty problem. But let's continue to the second paragraph really quick. He said the early game lighting change can be explained simply, and perhaps I can explain some of their thinking, as this came up during development of the original. It's sunset, so the warmer tones evoke less horror atmosphere. This is to contrast it later with the darker, bluer lighting, which is more horror. at some point in development of the original, we got rid of it because we wanted it unnerving from the get-go. So it looks like they reverted it back to the original idea with a smiley face. So the original developers wanted it to have that unnerving feeling from the get-go, which I kind of respect that because, again, it's a horror game. It's meant to be a scary game. I don't want to be running around in sunlight feeling like I'm in fucking Florida, because that's how some of this shit looks in the new game. If you look at some of the lighting in Until Dawn, the remake, it seriously looks like you're in sunny Florida just with snow around you. It is that bright in some areas, and it's very jarring. So I really like the aesthetic that the first original Until Dawn had, that it tried to go for that dark and broody feel from the beginning, but unfortunately it just didn't translate. It didn't translate right to the second game. It's not that they were trying to be scary. It's about the atmosphere. And I keep telling people this when it comes to the horror games, right? Not every horror game is going to be jump scare scary. That's not what it's for. Some horror games are just meant to make you feel something. It's meant to make you have an atmosphere like, wow, this is a little bit creepy. Or, oh, wow, this is a little bit, a little bit weird. What's going on? Like, Until Dawn had a pretty decent atmosphere, and it's completely lost now. It's completely gone in the remake, which is really unfortunate. So, again, this particular comment, I don't know if it's real. So take it with a grain of salt, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I don't know if it's real, but I shared it anyway because it happened on my channel. And I just read it and I was like, that's interesting. And it filled with some information that does seemingly try to explain what we're seeing here. But honestly, I'm not buying it, because if you are not willing to put in the work to make even the animations look similar to what the first game had, which was way more realistic, then I'm not going to buy you working hard or trying hard on the lighting and just not getting it right? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you just chose to not even bother. You just ported everything over and you did the minimum amount of work possible to get the game running. And the part of the game where it happened in Sunset, those parts of the game that are yellow, you easily could have changed it up to make it more dark and broody, but you just left it the way it was. So I'm checked out when it comes to Until Dawn remake. It just doesn't feel like they put in the effort, and I would much rather play the original. And honestly, not even that. Looking at the graphics too. If you guys looked at the graphics, you were there for the streams. Most of you were there for the streams. We did a comparison between the original version and the remake, and I'm shitting you not. The first fucking game looks better in most scenarios, right? The indoor scenes, the new game looks better. The player models, the new game looks slightly better. But the original game looks better overall in most scenarios. And that is really fucking sad, considering that this is supposed to be a PS5 game. It looks really, really sad. But again, it's because when you have less to work with, that means you have to be more creative. Right. So when you have to be more creative, you tend to do things that you wouldn't normally do to try to create something that you cannot easily create. With Unreal Engine 5 and modern technology, they can pretty much do anything. So people are a little bit lazier. They're not as restricted. They don't have to be as creative. Right. So it's just, I don't know, man. You guys can let me know in the comments. I see you guys sounding off in the chat about the graphics and whatnot. But I agree with all of you, man. The graphics are just not that good for a PS5 game. It seems like a regression in most situations, which is unfortunate. And it does scream, like Crazy Big JJ just said in the chat, they're doing it for a lazy money grab. That's what it screams to me. That's what it honestly screams to me. It screams to me that they're doing it for a really easy payday. By porting everything over from the original game, the amount of development time is cut in like half, if not more. So it didn't cost them that much. So it seems to me like it was a lazy cash grab, and you could see it all throughout the game. And then people try to sell it as if it's not. But let's be real, man. I could smell the shit from a mile away. All you got to do is just look at the fucking games in comparison. Look at the two of them, and you'll see totally fucking different. If you didn't know that the second game was Until Dawn, you probably wouldn't even say it was Until Dawn. Seriously, you wouldn't even say it was if you saw those lighted up scenes and whatnot. So, but in any case, I do appreciate the comment. If this is really a developer or a former developer, I do appreciate the comment. Thank you for at least trying to explain. But ultimately, it doesn't paint the picture any better for Ballistic Moon and what they did with the remake.